This morning, we received news that Anthony Lynn, head coach of the Chargers, was fired. Right now, I'm here with one of my friends, who is also a Chargers fan, along with me, and we're about to discuss the firing of Coach Anthony Lynn and who we think should be the next future head coach and the direction that the Chargers should go in terms of coaching. So, Tyler, what do you think about Anthony Lynn's time as a head coach for the Chargers?
First off, I want to say I don't think Anthony Lynn is a terrible head coach. I think he has many great traits. I think he inspires his players. And we saw back when we were 12-4, just a few years ago, a lot of these close games that we're losing now, we were winning. So I don't blame all of these close losses on Anthony Lynn. But I think after the last 2 years, with us just losing these close games, we had to move in our direction.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's like you have to hold someone accountable. The buck stops at a certain point, and I think when you're just constantly losing, it's like ultimately it's not necessarily the player's fault. I think the players played really well this year, especially I think Justin Herbert. He exceeded expectations, and Anthony Lynn ultimately was just in a position where any kind of coach, no matter who they were, would have been fired. So I don't think it's necessarily his fault, but it was also just the right thing to do for the Chargers front office, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily swing it and blame the players. I mean, you could blame Badgley for missing many, many field goals. There was a game against Tampa Bay where we had a costly fumble. We were probably going to beat Tampa Bay early in the season, and we fumbled right before the half, letting Tampa Bay score. So you
I
can
think the
easily
same
blame
thing
the
with
players, but sorry.
I think the Eckler fumble against the
Yeah.
Titans too. That was like he fumbled twice on the goal line. But I think those things just happen. It's unlucky, but you just gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yeah, I think another thing, the Chargers never seemed in the last few years very disciplined team. We often have issues tackling, and it's gotten better, but we a lot of times have issues tackling. We're terrible against the run, and special teams is just a disaster. Not just with the kicking, but we've had 3 block punts just this season. And just discipline wise, it didn't seem like Anthony Lynn was great in just holding guys accountable.
So, what kind of coach do you think the Chargers need?
I mean, the 3 biggest rumors I've heard. First is, I think, it's kind of a pipe dream, but Bill Belichick, I've heard rumors of. I think the type of coach he is would be perfect just because the discipline, those little mistakes, they wouldn't be made anymore. The other one I'm hearing is Eric Bieniemy. I hope I pronounced his name right. He's the Kansas City offensive coordinator.
I think, Kansas City offensive coordinator. I think that's really important because obviously Kansas City has one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL. You could definitely credit that to their coach Andy Reid, but I think obviously leading an offense that is one of the best in the NFL, the Chargers are definitely a very good offensive team, and incorporating that kind of explosive scheme and style would definitely be something that the Chargers could use.
Yeah, I'd say I don't see that as big of an importance as the discipline. I think Eric Bieniemy, maybe he'll make our offense top 5. I think we're probably top 10 right now. Maybe he'll make it top 5, but I don't see that as big as difference as just these small mistakes we always make defensively and mostly special teams. A coach like Bill Belichick would be better, and it doesn't have to be a Bill Belichick, obviously.
So right now, there's also rumors that the defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, is going to be let go. If that happens, which it seems likely that it will, one, do you think that's a good decision by the front office? And two, what kind of defensive coordinator would you like to see fill that role instead?
Well, it's tough for Gus Bradley because we haven't seen what he can really do with our defense when it's fully healthy. I mean, the amount of injuries our defense sustained. We didn't have Ingram for most of the year. Derwin James was out the whole year. Bosa was hurt a few games. Chris Harris was hurt a few games. So it's tough on him, but our defense was not as good as it should have been, I think, is safe to say. A lot of times we'd start off games really strong, and then seemingly out of nowhere, the other offense would just drive down the field consistently against our defense, and we couldn't do a thing about it.
Yeah, for me, I think in terms of replacing Gus Bradley, though, I definitely like to see a guy who's going to focus more on, again, what you said, discipline, right? Defensive, I think, discipline is something that we have always lacked in the past couple decades in terms of Chargers, whether it be missed tackles, whether it be blown coverage assignments. I think that's just a problem that we constantly see. But obviously, the Chargers defense has some really dynamic players, some really guys who are super exciting to watch. Derwin James, Chris Harris. Obviously, we traded away Desmond King, but I think, Kenneth Murray, some really young guys, Joey Bosa. There's so much potential on that defense, and I'd really like to see a guy who can groom those players into stars and turn that defense into truly elite top 5 in the NFL type of defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think just by the players we have, it seems that we should be one of the best defenses in the NFL pretty easily. You have everything. You have one of the best coverages, secondary in the NFL with pretty deep. And we got rid of Desmond King, which I wasn't sure about. He was on the last year of his contract, I think, but still, even without Desmond King, still one of the deepest, if healthy, secondaries. And then you have Joey Bosa, top 10, maybe top 5 pass rusher in the league, and Ingram, who's probably gone this year. But you also have Nwosu and pretty good pass rush there as well. So,
yeah. I think the biggest thing about the Chargers is just in the past we've lacked depth, but now we really have that deep depth on our defense in pretty much all positions, maybe except for interior of the D-line. But even there, I think we definitely expanded a lot. We got Linval Joseph in the offseason. We drafted Jerry Tillery a couple years back, and he's been developing pretty well. So I think our defense is definitely one of the things that I'm looking forward to next season. And hopefully we can cement that with a good defensive coordinator replacement. And I'm excited to see who they bring in.